The abduction of Jessica Lunsford, a 9-year-old girl. Today we are in Florida in 2005. This case does involve the abuse and murder of a child. So I think it's important to talk about these cases to bring awareness to them. However, at the same time, I understand that that's not everyone's cup of tea. So if this is harmful to your mental health in any way, please don't watch it. Jessica was the cutest, most confident, happy little girl. She was the youngest to parents Mark and Angela. When she was around 1 year old, her parents did get divorced, and after the divorce, Mark, her father, got custody. Jessie was such a daddy's girl through and through. They did everything together. They were obsessed with each other, the best of friends. Right after the divorce, they were still living in North Carolina, but Mark's parents ended up moving to Florida. So Jessica and Mark followed and they moved to Florida, moved into a trailer park with them. So they were all living in a trailer park, Mark, Jessica, and her grandparents, but Jessica did have her own room. The day of the kidnapping is February 23rd, 2005. It was a normal day. Jessica is again 9 years old. She went to a church group and then hung out with her dad and her grandparents for a little bit. Mark had started dating at this point, so after they hung out, Mark got ready to go out on a date. After Mark left for his date, Jessica hung out with her grandparents for a little bit, and then everyone said good night, I love you, and she went to bed. The next morning, Mark starts getting ready to go to work. He's changing. It's around 5 in the morning, and he hears Jessica's alarm going off in her bedroom, but she's not waking up. So he goes in there, and her bed is empty. She's not in there. He doesn't freak out yet. He thinks maybe she woke up earlier and has been playing outside. So he goes outside, and that's when he realizes that he accidentally left the front door of the trailer unlocked all night long. So he starts getting worried. They're making phone calls to see if anyone has seen Jessica, and they do end up calling the police. That same morning at 6 in the morning, Jessica is officially reported as missing. So Jessica's family is thinking that she was kidnapped, obviously, but the cops can't be sure of a kidnapping yet because there were no signs. Again, the front door was left unlocked, so for all the cops know, she could have walked out on her own accord. Later that evening, there are hundreds of volunteers helping look for Jessica, walking around the trailer park, seeing if they can find evidence of anything. And this is when the cops turn their attention to Mark, the father, and Grandpa. His name is Archie. So the cops bring in Mark and Archie to start questioning them, but this isn't your regular questioning, asking them if they had seen anything. No, they are full on interrogating them. They are having them take lie detector tests. They're pretty much accusing them and trying to get them to turn against each other. Mark is obviously devastated. His daughter is missing and they have no idea where she is, so he's crying. But Archie, the grandpa, is not crying, which that's not a sign of anything. Everyone handles grief differently, but the cops are telling Mark, look, your dad isn't crying, so he must be guilty. After 3 days of brutally questioning them, they finally decide to rule them out, and they start talking to them now more as witnesses instead of suspects. So they're talking to Grandpa Archie, trying to figure out if he heard anything weird. Obviously, grandparents were in the trailer with Jessica when she went missing. So Archie says that he woke up around 4 in the morning to go to the bathroom and he heard the dog barking outside, but it wasn't crazy unusual. And also the only thing that was missing from Jessica's bedroom was her favorite stuffed animal. Other than that, they have nothing to go off of. By week 3 of the search, they've been searching the woods. They have helicopters flying around, sniffer dogs, divers searching bodies of water, and they can't find anything. This is when they decide to change their tactics. So by this point, they're like, okay, she probably was kidnapped, and they start looking in sex offenders and pedophiles, people that have committed violent crimes that live in the area. So they start going around the trailer park and surrounding areas, questioning the people that have criminal records. And there was 208 people that were either pedophiles, registered sex offenders, or had just had a criminal record. This is when we introduce John Cooey to the story, a 46-year-old foul excuse of a man. A little background on his childhood. He had a rocky childhood. He grew up in poverty and he was abused by his mom's boyfriends that she would bring home. He was bullied at home, bullied at school, and just overall not a good childhood. John starts committing crimes from a very young age. He would break into people's houses to try and steal money or things that he could sell for drugs. Now, 2 crimes worth mentioning. The first crime that he ever got in trouble for was breaking into a woman's house. He abused her and he got in trouble for that. So he was sentenced to 10 years, but only served 2. So they are digging into his past criminal record. He'd been arrested 24 times. Another one of those was in 1991 for molesting a child under 16. So John Cooey is on the registered sex offender list, and something with that is that you're supposed to notify the police of where you live so they can kind of keep tabs on you, but they go to his house and realize that he has moved out, so he's in trouble now. They're trying to figure out where John is, so they go to his sister's trailer, and this trailer was extremely close to where Jessica lived. So they're questioning the sister and other family members that live there. They say they have no idea where John is, and they kind of do a walkthrough of the trailer, and they look into a bedroom and find a blood-stained mattress. But at this time, John's sister, her name is Dorothy, she's denying that he lives there, so the cops can't really do anything yet because they don't have a search warrant. In March 18th, 2005, they finally get a search warrant to search the trailer. So John's sister finally admits that that bedroom with the mattress that has a blood stain on it is John's bedroom. So they bring her in for questioning. She ends up kind of coming clean, not all the way yet, but she says that the night of the kidnapping, she was hanging out with John and a couple other people, and they were drinking, doing drugs, but then they ran out of drinks and drugs, and they didn't really have money to buy anymore, so they called it a night around 1 a.m. Now, the cops think that Jessica was abducted around 2 to 5 a.m, so the timelines are matching. The police decide to loop in the public because they can't find John, so they put his name out and his picture everywhere on the news and are kind of just waiting for someone to call in. Finally, someone does. A lady calls in that works for a homeless shelter, but she lives in Georgia, 400 miles away. So they're holding John. He doesn't know at that point why he's being held, but the Florida police are on their way to Georgia to question him about Jessica's disappearance. So the cops are kind of playing good cop, bad cop. They start asking him about Jessica, and he says that he doesn't know anything. They're pretty much provoking him, yelling at him to confess, and he denies that he even knows who Jessica is. He has seen her on the news, but in person, he's never seen her before. And at this point, John does ask for a lawyer, I think around 4 times, but the cops completely ignore his request. So they're questioning him for hours, and then it pretty much leads to nothing. They let him go. The next morning, they ask him if he's willing to take a polygraph test. He agrees, and this is when he reaches his breaking point and confesses. So they take him into a different room with cameras and microphones and ask him if he's going to do a formal confession. He says yes, and this is when he comes clean and relives the night from start to finish. So he admits that he does know who Jessica is, that he had been watching her play outside for a little while in the trailer park, and he says that when he would watch her, he thought she was around 6 years old, but she was 9, which is weird. So his story does match up with his sister's. They say that they had been out drinking, doing drugs, and then around 1 a.m, they all went their separate ways. And he tried to go to bed, he couldn't go to bed, so he decides that he's going to break into someone's home to try and get money to get more drugs. That was his initial plan. And that's when he remembered Jessica and her family, so he decides that he's going to break into her trailer. So he sneaks out of his trailer for some reason. He snuck out of the window and then breaks into Jessica's trailer and is looking around for things to steal. He drops something and Jessica wakes up and she walks out of her room and sees him. So now he's like, shit, there's a witness. He panics and decides that he's going to have to leave and take Jessica with him because she has seen his face, so he needs to take her. And he looks at Jessica, covers her mouth, and says, "Don't yell or nothing." And then Jessica is really scared. She asks John if she can take a stuffed animal, so she goes to her bedroom, takes her favorite stuffed animal, and then follows John out of the trailer. And they make the walk back to his trailer. They break in through the window, and he proceeds to abuse her that night. The next morning, he shoves her in his closet and says that he's gonna go to work and that she has to wait there for him. He doesn't have a job, obviously he's lying, so he kind of leaves and is trying to figure out what to do, and then he comes back and Jessica did wait for him. She is still in the closet. There are too many details left. I'm gonna have to do part 2, I'm sorry.